Oh, looks like we're live.
There you go.
We're going to wait and see.
We're back a week later.
1 whole week. It's a long time. All right, looks like, well, we got to wait 20 seconds. I think that's what the delay is.
The delays.
All right.
All right, so we're talking about...
Yeah, you did mushrooms for the first time, didn't you?
Not actual mushrooms.
Last Friday. Well, for ACO DMT, it's the same thing.
It's
like
not
the same, but it's
similar.
similar.
Squeeze the goodness out of mushrooms, and I did it.
All right.
It was an interesting experience.
How would you describe it?
Yeah, I don't know how I can describe it. To be honest, it's it was good. I mean, it was weird. It was just weird.
Yeah, weird's one way to put
it was just so weird.
Yep.
Yeah,
alien to your normal everyday experience, right?
I remember just after the fact. Remember when we were what's the word? Decompressing, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Yeah,
processing what just happened. Yeah.
I remember I constantly said. Remember you were laughing at me a number of times, and I kept saying, "I'm going to tell myself to do this," and I kept saying that when I come back. When I come back.
You kept saying, "I'm trying to figure out how to explain this to not on psychedelic."
Yeah, I know. I love that. Then when I come back, like as if I were somewhere.
Yeah, or as if you were somewhere else, someone else. But no, you.
It was weird. It felt like I was underwater a lot of the time too. Remember I told you? Yeah. I felt like we were in an aquarium. And every time I was looking at stuff, it looked like...
It gets distorted, right? It distorts everything. And the waviness of everything around you kind of gives you that underwater feel, I think, as well.
I can't say that I got that... like a lot of people will say that they get some kind of insight or something like that. I can't say I got insight that I could use like in regular life. I feel like all it did was numb... It's almost like it numbed my desire to do anything in the real world. Like so I remember I kept saying, "Oh, we could do this to make money, or we can monetize this." And then I would stop myself in the middle and go, "What's the point? What's the point of that?" And
that almost is the deep insight, though. Is what is the point of anything? And I think you think too hard about it. There's very little point. My opinion is the point is to experience. That's the whole point of life. If you ask me what the meaning of life is, I'd say it's to experience.
Yeah. I don't know. I just felt like when I saw like Rogan talking about it and different people talking about it, and they're saying like it sort of opened their mind to different things. They had different ideas and stuff that they kind of took away. I didn't really feel that. It just felt more like it just...
You didn't really do like a lot though.
Well, you said 3 milligrams, isn't that?
3
grams.
Roughly 3 grams. That's like you put your foot in the water.
Yeah.
You know what it feels like.
Well, you were saying that was a pretty hefty dose you gave me for a first time.
I didn't say that. Mike said that.
Oh, I thought. Okay, whatever.
But I don't know. Mike's.
But you're telling me you take 10 grams.
Yes, a lot. I've done a lot more. And also, you got to think about Joe Rogan, too. He's talking about DMT, NN-DMT, and 5-MeO DMT, which are a whole other ball game.
Yeah. Well, this was a different ball game for me. I've never taken anything psychedelic in any way, acid, anything like that. I've kind of always been a clean sort of guy, no drugs.
Now you're a druggie.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. I was just gonna say, I need you to get me, a couple kilograms of it, so I can start doing it every day.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like I guess I would do it again, but I don't know how I felt about it exactly. Like I said, it wasn't the experience I thought I would get.
Right. It's never going to be the experience you think you're going to get.
Yeah.
You can never. I've done it many times now. You can never anticipate. The only thing you can anticipate about it is the feeling of the come up is more or less the same. It's kind of like a roller coaster ride. As you get to the top. That's the only thing that's consistent about it, and the rest is like you never know where you're gonna go, what direction you're gonna go. I think a way to describe it, whether it's the truth about reality or not, is think about it as you are a three-dimensional being perceiving 3 dimensions of reality, right? Reality is more than 3 dimensions. That's not really up for debate anymore. It's more about there's all sorts of competing theories that are trying to sort of unify all of the sciences, I suppose. And they all say different things, right? You have geometric unity, which I think is like 13 dimensions. You have Garrett Lisi's, which is like 248 dimensions. And
sounds like what we're saying about genders.
Yeah. There's about as many dimensions as there are genders. But you're a three-dimensional being. You're perceiving 3 dimensions of reality, at least of space, and maybe you count time or not. For the sake of this analogy, I'm not counting time.
Oh, I gotta give you shit about shaking the table like you gave me shit last time.
That's right.
Yeah.
We should get the tripod. All right, I'll try to stay off the table.
Yeah.
Alex Jones, don't bang the table.
Yep.
You're a 3-dimensional creature experiencing 3-dimensional reality, and as you are sort of taking these things that are expanding your perception into more dimensions, or say the 4th dimension, and then you do a little bit and it's kind of like 10% into the 4th dimension. It's just kind of a little overlay over reality. As you go higher, you get up to half, you get up to 60%. Eventually you go straight up and over, and that explains the experiences where you're completely gone. You're somewhere else. My hand just showed up in your screen.
That's hilarious.
You're somewhere else.
We are that close.
Yeah, exactly. But I think those experiences where you're somewhere else is you're almost traveling through other dimensions. Like, you're in your 3-dimensional space. You stay stationary, but you're going this way in the 5th dimension or the 7th dimension or the 6th dimension in a way that's inconceivable, and why some of these experiences are so hard to wrap your head around. But I think, I don't really know what my overall point there was.
Yeah.
In this place, it's kind of like you're slowly building your way up to perceiving much more of reality that isn't really necessarily relevant to your everyday consciousness, why you can't really perceive it properly. And
the only thing that I can kind of take away, where I could almost like every bit of it is really it's an individual reaction to the drug, right? But there are consistencies, that everybody sort of sees, right? Like, or very commonalities essentially when people take it, right? So that kind of lends me to believe that there is something to that, but the cynic in me goes right back to the idea that it's just your mind playing tricks. It's like everything I saw is just the reaction of that drug on my brain and making my brain mess around. It's not like I'm seeing anything that's there and I just normally wouldn't be able to see it. It's not like the, that drug took the wool away from my eyes or whatever, you know what I mean? But the weirdest thing for me was the feeling of being underwater. Like that, it didn't have that look of where I was like looking at things just crisper and clearer. It's more as if I was in clear water looking at stuff. So it's almost like I wanted to say it at the time when it was happening. I almost didn't say like it's as if I'm a fish seeing stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, my mind was going to all kinds of places at the time, but
it brings you places.
But I kept feeling like every time I would say something to you, I couldn't really communicate what I was seeing or what I was thinking, and then I would sort of in the middle of it, I'd go, "This is ridiculous. What am I saying?" And then I'd look at your reaction, and you had a big smile on your face, and I'm like, "Oh, he's laughing at me. I'm saying something really stupid." But I was like, that's why I kept saying to you, I want to bounce it off somebody who's open but sober. That's why I kept asking like for Joanne to be around. I'm like, because then I could kind of bounce it off her, and I felt like she would give me a true, albeit she'd laugh at me, but she would at least give me, I could ask her a question and she'd give me the truth about it. She'd be like, yeah, I know that's, you're definitely seeing some weird shit or something, or, but I don't know. I was hoping that I would get some kind of weird inspiration. I almost envisioned myself like grabbing a notepad or something and just writing down ideas.
That's more like LSD.
Yeah, I guess.
That's how people describe, because LSD is a lot more intense. It lasts a lot longer. That's what a lot of the people like, Steve Jobs and the sort of tech people in Silicon Valley, they do a lot of LSD or have done a lot of LSD at some point in their life, and that they cite it as a major source of inspiration.
I kept saying to you that I was afraid of like losing control. I was afraid of not. I was trying to grasp reality all the time because I'm like, I don't want to like. I didn't want to black out or anything.
Because I think what you were feeling, you didn't do enough for it to fully grab you and take you, but it can grab you and take you.
Yeah, I have a fear of that. I have a fear of loss of control, right?
Yeah, it's not so much that you lose control. Well, yeah, you're going to lose control of the experience. You're not going to lose control in the physical world. If anything, you're just going to kind of fall asleep to other people. But people, it's an ego thing. It kind of like creeps, and it kind of your biology, right? The monkey reacts. It feels like it's dying. Right. And it genuinely thinks that it's dying, and that's kind of your reaction. You know you're not dying if you know what you've gotten yourself into. You know you're not dying, but you kind of feel like you're dying, and that can cause panic, which makes it even worse. And that's why a lot of people can have very, very terrifying experiences if they can't let go.
Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of kept me from being really afraid was the fact that, for one, you kind of gave me a good synopsis of what I was going to go through prior to taking it. And then it did seem pretty gradual. It came on pretty gradual. And then once it hit its sort of head for me, I didn't feel a lot of paranoia. I just felt more like, I didn't know what was reality, what wasn't reality. And I was having a hard time sort of grasping that. I was like, am I seeing
all reality?
Yeah. So I was like, am I seeing something that I wouldn't normally be seeing, but it's actually there?
Right, and that's the hard thing to answer that question, right? There's a lot of I'm definitely leaning towards. I think some things are distortions.
Yeah.
Where because your mind it looks for patterns, right? Things like faces. You can see faces and things, and it's looking for patterns. So I think there's an element to that, because what is for sure happening is your brain is just going faster and it's working better. That's why all your senses are enhanced. Your vision is enhanced.
Yeah, you know what I want to do, actually? I want to try this. Remember when I was looking at the wall and I said I kept seeing green specks and all that kind of stuff, and you can't see that in that wall normally, in that stone. I want to actually get a magnifying, not a magnifying glass. I don't think it would do that, but actually look into it with like a small microscope type thing or something, and see if you can see all that kind of stuff. And it was just,
you might be able to, yeah.
Because otherwise it's just my eyes making that up, or my brain making up that I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
But if I was actually seeing something in the stone that you can't see without magnification, like some severe magnification, that's some crazy
It is crazy. Right, and this is something that has been tested. I've personally, anecdotally tested it with my own experiments. With microdosing, I know other people have done this too in more clinical settings. But what I did was I would take a microdose, and I would have like a words on the wall, right, like something, whatever, right. And I go as far back as
do an eye
where,
test.
I was going as far back to where, like, okay, I can't read these words from here. I do a microdose, and then go back to that same distance a day later. So it's not as much as like, oh, it's fresh in my memory, so my brain can put it together. And I say, no. Now, I've waited a day or two, and now I'm going to that same spot, right? Because kind of marked the spot. Looked at it again, and
could read everything
as if I had glasses on, right?
I mean, that could be also that you. That could be two things. It could be that it's heightening your eyesight, or it could just be pulling memory, because your brain has the capability of looking at something and remembering it perfectly.
Yeah,
we just can't access
heightening your eyesight. I can say that, like, for sure, because it's beyond that. Like, that's the experiment I did. But you've mentioned you don't wear glasses. You've never worn glasses. I have glasses. I needed them in school to see if I was in the back of the classroom. I needed them to see what was on the board. So I am very familiar with the contrast between my normal vision and when I have glasses on. Right. And that's one of the first things I notice on psychedelic experiences. I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm wearing glasses right now. It's a weird, very, very weird. For me, it was more paradigm shifting in how I thought about reality and what's going on. Because I never thought, like, the idea that you could take a drug and improve your vision
Well, it's funny. It's one of those.
Foreign to me.
Well, I mean, because they used to say for years, right? Oh, we only use 10% of our brains, and I mean, science has debunked that. Obviously, that was stupid. But that idea that we only use 10% of our brains, it kind of almost reaffirms that a little bit. Maybe that.
I know. I don't think it's like that. I think you're kind of close. I think what it is it's because what the psychedelic is a neurotransmitter. I think what it is it's kind of like when you overclock a CPU, you're putting more energy into it, right? I think that's what's happening in a vaguely similar way.
Yeah, that's got some
merit. You're giving it a more efficient neurotransmitter so it can do better and more, and that's also why you feel very mentally drained after, especially after an intense. Did you feel that at all? Any kind of draining?
I don't know. The next day I felt a little bit. A
little groggy. Maybe
I don't know if I felt much of anything different, but I don't know. I don't.
If you take a very high dose, immediately after, you will likely feel very mentally drained, almost like tired but not tired. Like I've been in situations where like I feel really tired but I can't fall asleep because I'm not actually tired, but it's because I've taken a very high dose. And I think that's because same thing, you overclock a CPU, you can burn it out. You could kill it because it's not meant to do that. I think our brains are the same way.
No, I think it's because you're a demon, because I clearly you clearly started to look a little demon-esque to me at first. I was afraid to look at you because your face started to change like crazy. I was like, oh, like it was weird.
To eat your soul.
And then remember, I was looking at my hand. I just kept looking at my hand. My hand was.
Oh yeah, no, your hands look so different on
creepy.
It's
creepy, weird.
And you can see details in there.
Like I was like, oh, I don't want to look at my hand like that. So I didn't want to look at your face for like the first 15 minutes, especially when remember that I kept seeing light from behind me. I'm like,
that's interesting. I wonder if that was something.
I don't know. It's like someone was shining a flashlight from behind me.
Oh, you know what we should have done? Maybe we should still do it. Do they have the Ring doorbell? Do they get that recorded and like saved on a cloud?
I don't know if he records it, but
find out and get that footage of the front of the house that night while we were doing it, and see if there were cars going by.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Maybe you were kind of getting. I
don't know. It was weird because remember I said at one point, I'm like, it's like headlights.
Yeah.
And I kept looking back. I'm like, oh, geez,
maybe
like
it was. Maybe there were cars going by, and you were kind of like sensing it in a way, which is weird.
I'm getting a phone call. I don't. Again, like I said, I'm not sure if I would do it again, but I would recommend someone do it. Like I probably will do it again.
I say to people, you have to do it at least once. You don't have to do it again. You have to do it at least once, not because you're going to get some insight or anything, but because it's a paradigm shift to reality. Just to have that experience is a whole new experience level, right? Like you got all these things that you're experiencing throughout your life, and this is just a whole different thing. It's a whole different ball game. Yeah,
I agree. It was it was definitely eye-opening on for a number of reasons, but it was hilarious when we were throwing the darts. I kept saying, I should be seeing better. I should be throwing these better.
Well, really, in reality, everything's off. So
that was funny. You just kept hitting. You kept missing the board. I'm like, how are you missing the board?
Listen.
Like your eyes are supposed to be good.
Not on.
Apparently, it does not work with mechanics versus
microdosing. Might help with that. It's because it's a sensory overload of having an actual trippy experience that I think it totally throws everything off.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was I also thought there was going to be some kind of physical acuity or whatever. Like I was going to be able to do things a little better. So when I did pick up the darts, I thought, oh, I'm going to be able to throw these pretty good. Maybe I'm going to figure out something. I'm going to have to microdose before I, play some darts.
Yeah, I mean, you could try that because that's the thing. Like you do the small amount, it might help you. I know it helped me. One time, I was playing goalie in hockey, and it definitely helped me track. I don't know that my reflexes were any better, but I guess in contrast, they were better because I was able to see the ball better and track it better. So it just, even if reflexes were the same, you get input earlier, you're processing better.
Sorry, getting bugged on my phone here. I know. I wanted to say something. Stop bugging me. I wanted to say something about it, but I can't remember what I was gonna say. When I was looking at the sky and stuff, that was creepy. That was.
We saw the same thing at one point in the sky, which is a weird thing about psychedelics. Is sometimes you have. I mean, they'll call it shared or group hallucinations, but like, man, if multiple people, sometimes large groups of people are seeing the same thing, is it fair to call it a hallucination?
Right.
You know, it's like, what's going on there? And that was weird.
That was weird.
And then it kind of just went away.
Yeah, it was like the sky was kind of opening up or something. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, and there was like something coming down, like in the center of this building that we're in now.
Maybe we saw extraterrestrials. Actually, you know what? Not maybe.
More likely.
We did. We 100% saw extraterrestrials.
More likely some kind of higher dimensional phenomena that doesn't really have much impact.
The 53rd dimension?
Could have been. Probably more likely the 4th. I don't think we did that many.
I think... listen. I've been to the 4th many times. It's a shithole.
Uh-huh.
The 4th dimension's gross. Bunch of used needles.
The paradigm shift about psychedelics is when you start to realize that there are consistencies in the entities that people encounter. Now, you didn't do nearly enough to encounter any entities. But,
are you sure?
Yeah.
Maybe you're an entity.
I am an entity. I am technically an entity. I'm talking about entities that aren't here in our three-dimensional reality.
Something was coming out of your face, buddy.
Something
was coming.
It's called beauty. I know you've never dealt with it.
Oh, that's
anymore.
what it was. I was becoming attracted to you.
Yeah, you're like, oh my god, this guy is
oh
so
my god!
gorgeous.
All I needed was 3 grams of DMT, DH. What is it?
4-ACO DMT.
That's a lot of letters.
Psilocybin. Call it shrooms. It's basically the same thing. Psilocin is
of shrooms that aren't gross like actual mushrooms.
They last a little shorter. It's a little quicker to onset.
Good.
Yeah,
it's much better.
If you're inexperienced, you can't really tell the difference. I couldn't tell the difference for a long time.
No.
Now I can, but
I'd be able to tell
subtle.
the difference. The difference is I wouldn't have to ingest a disgusting mushroom.
Yeah, you from the chewing and everything. But there are like I saw at the Eye of Horus one time.
The what?
The Eye of Horus.
What is that?
The Eye of Horus. You don't know the Eye of Horus?
No.
I'll show you.
I'm not versed in your.
You'll know what the Eye of Horus is. It's fucking Egyptian, man.
Oh, okay. I thought this was some kind of psychedelic bullshit. Okay.
Well, apparently it is
because
I saw it.
Now you're gonna have to edit. Oh yeah. You showed this to me before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I saw something like this. I probably shouldn't.
Was that while you were seeing that guy?
That guy. No, that was a different time. Actually.
Oh yeah. Looks like the head of a penis.
Yeah, no, it was a very, very weird experience where I found myself not in my body anymore, and in front of me was the Eye of Horus, kind of like the distance of the camera, and it was the entire space around it was like symbols, almost like Egyptian symbols, and that was very, very strange because of the consistency with our history of Earth people.
That's quite funny how you slowed down when you said that. Our history.
Yeah, well, I say our history. I mean, I'm not really Middle Eastern, you know. I'm
right.
European, Northern European, maybe.
We all kind of started from there.
Yeah, it's human history and it's things, and we know that the Egyptians were doing this stuff. So how much of their myths? I've heard stories of people meeting Egyptian gods. Anubis was one of them. I saw a trip report where a guy supposedly met Anubis. Huh. There are other deities like Shiva, a Hindu god. With all the arms, and it makes you wonder how, what's really going on in reality. And then you have stories. There's a comedian, you might not have heard of him. I don't think he's too big, but Shane Moss. He did a lot of DMT, like so much, like hundreds of times.
Is he funny?
Fucked with him. I don't know. I haven't seen him do comedy. He does comedy.
He didn't do enough.
You know what? He does comedy for a living, so I'm going to say he's funny.
Hey,
I'm going to say he's
listen,
funny.
you can't shit on somebody.
I've only discovered him through the psychedelic side of his story.
Yeah.
And because his story is baffling.
Yeah.
Because he did a lot of psychedelics.
Right.
Supposedly, like hundreds of times, he smoked DMT, and he ended up in a psych ward at one point because his experiences started to fuck with him so much that he couldn't handle it. Like he broke down. That's why you should not, you should be careful. And But he's fine now, it seems. But his main experience is he would consistently, not every time, but, you know, a lot of times when he smoked DMT, he would encounter this female entity, this purple woman, as he calls her. And that's fine, right? You encounter the same entity over and over again. That's one thing. And then there was one trip where a friend of his was going to smoke DMT.
Oh, you're burping.
Burps. Yeah, his friend was going to smoke DMT, and he provided his friend with the DMT, and they were, you know, in their room. And his friend smoked the DMT, and, you know, at first his friend was like freaking out. He's like, "Oh no, I did too much, whatever." And she's like, "No, it's fine. You know, that's a part of it. It's going to be overwhelming. Just, you know, just relax. Just, you know, it's going to be over soon anyway. DMT is very short-lived, if you don't know." Mm-hmm. And his friend kind of was like, "Oh, okay." When he heard Shane's voice, he's like, "Oh, okay." Then he kind of closed his eyes and went back. And he said something like, "Oh, wow, they really love you." And Shane's like, "Yeah, you know, you get this, you know, people tend to get this feeling of, you know, overwhelming love and joy and all that." And he's like, No. The people in here love you, Shane. There's this woman here, and she wants me to tell you that she really cares about you." And this was kind of like a cross-person experience with a single entity, because Shane knew who this person was because he had met this woman all the time. And this guy described perfectly the woman that Shane had seen on these experiences or met multiple times, which is absolutely baffling. I mean, like, you have to at the very least consider the possibility that there are beings that exist at higher levels that maybe human beings have been interacting with and engaged with for thousands of years. Maybe those are demons and angels and gods, maybe, all throughout history. And it's just the idea that one person can have an experience and then another person can go and encounter the same thing and have that thing reference them. Mm-hmm. That's a little. I think it's out there.
I don't know. I don't want to be too strong on my point here when I say, but I almost think it's a little naive to not think that there's at least heavy possibility that there's spirits and entities and things like this, things beyond.
It's harder to dismiss it when you leave your body and you go into the spirit world, and that's.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it comes with like credibility too, right? Like you hear this. Yeah. You hear information from people and you go, "Oh, is that a credible source to me?" Or I don't believe them, they're a charlatan or whatever, right? But when you get someone that you know very well and they say that they've seen things or that they've experienced things, and
someone you know is not lying to you,
right? You know, then
they're like, "No, this is what I experienced. You know, right. This is what happened."
So the only way now that you can kind of dismiss it or make sense of it, you could say, "Well, maybe that was just your mind making."
To try to say, yeah,
right. Where you try and rationalize it using. Yeah. You know, our limited understanding of reality, right?
Exactly.
But I think you've got to be open to the idea.
Especially since it's been kind of taken for granted as reality for thousands and thousands of years, right? It's only more recently that we've kind of taken this hard materialistic approach to things where we're like, no. The material world is all there is, and consciousness is an emergent feature of the mind, and blah blah blah, all this stuff, and it's like,
But it could be one of these things too. If you look,
high dose of psychedelics, and
but if you look at like cyclically what happens with humans as far as just with religions and governments and all these civilizations and things like that. Yeah, like just take for example religion, right? So religion used to be prevalent in most of society, right? Different religions like Roman Catholicism,
I think it's
Christianity,
always been prevalent.
But I mean, like in North America, right? Yeah. So Roman Catholic. It's not.
Yes, it is.
No.
You're not realizing that this.
They're taking off the money.
You're not realizing that this whole woke thing is a religion.
No, but I'm saying, okay, I agree with
People are religious,
but you're getting ahead of my point. No, my point was that we're getting away from like Catholicism and Christianity,
right? The religions that kind of brought us here,
where we're almost idolizing each other or ourselves. Like people are idolizing themselves, or like
because people are naturally religious, and I think we evolved to be that way. I think the way to look at religion is it's a technology for the purpose of social cohesion, right? Like a car is a technology with the purpose of transportation.
Sure.
Religion is a technology with the purpose of social cohesion, and it's more. I think it's less deliberate than a car is. I think it's something we're just kind of doing naturally because it works and we need it in order to have a functioning society. And when we want a functioning society, because when we have a functioning society, you know, there's food and there's less predators, and you know, there's systems in place to protect you, right?
Yeah.
And religion provides the foundation to do that.
Right.
And then now, I mean, I think this has happened many times, but like right now we're moving away from like Christianity and Judaism and Catholicism and like these things that if you really look, if you really like want to take these religions seriously, like it's really hard to dismiss them when you look at it as from the perspective of it's a technology. When you look into the actual teachings, like you can say, okay, criticize the institutions, right? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I think that's going to happen in the institutions, no matter what institution it is. But you look into the teachings, don't covet your neighbor. Don't steal, don't kill.
I don't think it's don't covet your neighbor. I think it's don't covet your neighbor's wife or your neighbor's belongings. I covet my neighbor. No, I covet my neighbor. Honestly, I want my neighbor. I don't really want... Yeah.
But their wife... You know the idea. Don't be jealous of stuff.
I love your paraphrasing. Listen, buddy, I grew up Catholic. I know the 10 Commandments.
Yeah,
I just don't really follow them 100%.
You have Blackstone formulation, I think, is key to the background of our society. Are you familiar, right?
Yeah.
It's better 10 guilty people go free than one innocent person suffers. Mm-hmm. We're moving away from the religious teachings of Christianity and Judaism and Catholicism and all these things that kind of give us these guiding moral principles that work, that work in society. And we're moving away from that, and our society is collapsing. Imagine that.
Yeah, no, eh? No, it's true, because I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in the structure of religion. I think religion gives people sort of a cohesive morality.
Strip it of all its metaphysics.
Yeah.
It's incredibly usul. They are rules that you can follow, and your life will be better for it.
There are certain things, obviously, like if you read the Bible and such, and the fact, like if anyone's familiar with Sodom and Gomorrah, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, where we're talking the Old Testament, which is completely, in my eyes, is offense.
Is that originally where Blackstone's formulation came from, Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah. So I don't want to offend anybody listening, but I'm not a religious person. I grew up that way. Yeah. So I better be careful here. But I think the Old Testament's a little ridiculous, right? I think the whole idea that God was different then, they always say that God was more of a vengeful God in the Old Testament versus the New Testament. But anyways, so my point is having religion. I think the basis religion is pretty good, but the problem is you get people throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? They throw out all religion because of, say, something like Sodom and Gomorrah. So people who are homosexual, they're like, I don't believe in any of that shit because God hates me, because I'm gay, which I completely accept that premise. I think that's ridiculous. Any God that would hate somebody because they naturally love the same sex is ridiculous to me too. And it's one of the reasons why I don't believe in religion, because I think that whole idea is.
But even then, you can find the utility in that. Think about maybe thousands and thousands of years ago, that might have actually been a problem.
You mean to have people so they procreate instead of...
Yeah, it might have actually been a problem if you had... I don't think it probably ever was, just because we're talking now 10% of the population is maybe, so it's like...
I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, I think it's on the up and up.
Oh yeah, I think it's on the uptick huge.
I think there's
I think it'd be closer to 25%, to be honest.
Maybe, I don't know about that.
But I mean,
definitely not my experience with people I've met.
Now, hold on. When I say that, I don't mean necessarily just homosexual. Maybe bisexual or all these different gender fluid or not, or whatever that's called. What is that called when they omnisexual or something where they basically would just have sex with anything or anyone. Yeah. I don't know all the terms, all the woke terms.
I don't think that says
in my mind. There's only gay and bisexual, heterosexual, gay, bisexual.
Generally, yeah. That's all you need. It encompasses everything.
The rest of it is kind of weird. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Like then if you start opening the door to too many different terms for things, I think you lose the message completely, and then you start opening some weird doors for organizations like NAMBLA. You know that?
I don't know NAMBLA.
Oh yeah, that's the. You should watch South Park. It makes fun of it a lot. Okay. That's the National Association. I forget exactly what the acronym means, but it's basically men that love young boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have that, and you have people,
and they'll try and legitimize shit like that.
I mean, there's a Netflix show. There's Cuties and there's.
That one's brutal, eh?
Cuties is.
Did they get rid of it?
I haven't. Nope.
Oh
they defend it and they kept it on there, and I'm not gonna watch it, and it.
Something disgusting about that, man.
Then you have Big Mouth.
Oh yeah, that's.
It's funny, but it's funny, a show about seventh graders having sex.
It's pretty bad.
I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's a little.
There are some moral lines.
It's definitely funny though. If you watched it, it's pretty.
I watched season 1 and it was funny, but there are lines in that show that I think are crossed.
Definitely makes you do the ick thing, like oh.
Yeah. It's a little bit. It's a little degenerate here.
Hey, you know what I do like about it though, honestly. I like mouths. No, it's like a big pushback. Like it's like an overcorrection the other way. Like so, I've said this about the woke culture, right? I don't know if we're getting into this, but I've said this about like the whole culture where we're pushing this whole woke agenda, where it's like a hyper overcorrection. Mm-hmm. It's like people that are, they mean well. People mean well, and they're trying to do the morally right thing, or they're trying to be whatever you want to call it, accepting, tolerant, whatever the heck you want to say. They're trying to be that way, but they're overcorrecting and they're trying to force it down people's throat. And I don't think it works. I don't think it ever works. But this seems like a show like that, like Big Mouth, is almost like an overcorrection the other way. Like South Park's kind of like that too. South Park overcorrects the other way, where it just makes fun of everything almost indiscriminately.
I think that's a different whole paradigm. Instead of more of an overcorrection, South Park's just like, hey, look at these crazy people over there, aren't they ridiculous? And look at these crazy people over there, aren't they also ridiculous?
Yeah.
It's less of a okay, here's my way and here's your way. And
sometimes it's a little bit like, it's a little too much. Like
but it goes both ways with being too much, right? So it isn't necessarily. I don't know.
Like some of the transgender stuff they do was hilarious.
Yeah.
But some of it, I'm like, it's almost like. When you watch...
You don't really know what the politics of South Park are.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's almost like when you watch certain things, you go, how did that person, like say some Caitlyn Jenner, how did she piss Trey and Matt, whatever the hell his name is, how did she seem to piss them off? Because everything they did with her seemed almost a little personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
it's like the rest of it, Bruce Jenner back in the day didn't invest in their show,
right? Or something right? Or he said something. You know what I mean? Like
then during the first season of South Park, he called it, the show's terrible.
Right.
Like, that's it. We're gonna wait for a moment, and we're gonna go after you. Family Guy did it. Family Guy made fun of him.
Yeah, and I mean, if you make fun of somebody and it's sort of indiscriminate, like it's just like you're making fun of like a current thing they did or something like that. Right. For example. I don't know if you read this. I don't know if it was like yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Alec Baldwin. You were with Alec Baldwin? Was that today?
I think it was today.
He with a prop gun, he killed somebody.
He should probably go to jail for that.
Well, but really, should he?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
Rules of
that's brutal
of gun safety. There is no circumstance, whether it's loaded with a blank, whether it's not loaded at all. There is no circumstance in which you should be pointing that gun at another person. That's like rule number 1.
I know, but you're doing it for a movie.
They don't point guns at people in movies. They point it away, and they.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't do.
I don't know. I've never been on a movie set.
But
I know people have been shot before.
Yeah, it's happened before.
Right.
It's happened before, but that's at least that's how they're supposed to do it in Hollywood, and how they say they do it in Hollywood is they use the camera angles to make it look like the gun's pointing, but they're not actually.
Damn guts out of the gun. Take the trigger.
Yes,
take the firing pin. Take all that out of the gun. Yeah. Just make it unable to shoot. What's the point?
There's so many steps.
But I don't think that's Alec Baldwin's problem. I think that's
the guy in charge.
No, he was a producer, but doesn't he has somebody
in charge? He's the guy holding the gun.
He's
the guy
I don't
who
know.
pulled the trigger.
But I mean, what if somebody set him up?
It's possible he was set up. You still don't point a gun at.
I don't know. I don't know. Like it's such a gray area.
I don't think he should go to jail for murder. I think a couple years for being ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
like
it's a bit hard. I don't know, man. I think maybe
it's really bad.
I don't know. Maybe a guy like him, maybe a big monetary penalty, right? Make the family absolutely whole in some way. Like maybe he'll do that anyway, but I don't know. Like the idea that he's going to do some prison time for that is pretty pretty harsh to me. It sounds really rough.
Yeah, I don't think there's any sympathy for him in my eyes. There's no.
Wait, you're not a fan of Baldwin?
No, it's not Baldwin. It's the whole situation. It's like once you dabble a little bit in the gun culture and like how you're supposed to treat a firearm and how seriously the people who do handle firearms on a day-to-day basis treat these things, whether they're loaded, whether they're not loaded, whether the firing pin is in the gun or not, you realize there's no excuse for that gun having ever been pointed at another human being. There's no excuse.
I know, but again, like I said, it's a movie. I don't know if what you're saying is true. If that's not the norm, they don't point it at people.
Yeah.
I feel like they have to at certain points. You see in a movie where the gun is pointed directly at somebody.
And it could be a plastic gun. It probably is a plastic gun. If
they use prop guns like crazy. They call them prop guns. They're real guns. It's just silly to call them prop guns. But again, I just don't understand why a firing pin is in the gun. Like, why make it capable at all? I understand using.
They were firing blanks at
but even blanks.
Yeah, I know blanks can kill people.
Blanks can kill people.
But that's I think what they were supposed to be doing, and so it's like, why was the gun loaded in the first place? There's so many.
I think with CGI, or adding sound after the fact, you don't even need to make the gun make a sound.
You can go to a firing range and get the sounds.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can make the sound later, so you can make the gun that it has everything but the firing.
You can have an airsoft gun. It looks identical to a real gun.
Yeah.
Even if you did accidentally fire something, okay, wow, somebody gets a little fucking tiny welt on them.
Yeah, but you know what though? It's funny because I think stuff like this ends up changing the culture or changes the way they shoot movies in the the future, right? So I think this.
You bet your ass they're going to be like.
So somebody might have
insanely careful in the next
that poor
couple of years.
Photography, whatever it was. I forget what it wasn't. Even
cinematographer.
A cinematographer. It was a cinematographer. Not even another actor or anything or actress in the movie.
Which is again, like, why is it pointed at
He's like, I don't like your work.
Yeah, bam. Yeah, you want to get conspiratorial? He just wanted to do it.
And the director got shot too. So maybe he didn't like the director.
He got injured. It's like, holy fuck.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's
pretty intense. I wonder what happened. I wonder, like, if did he shoot it twice or did the partial bullet?
There's no way he shot it twice. If he shot it twice, that's like, oof.
Yeah. So did the partial bullet go right through the cinematographer, bounce off something?
It could have been that maybe the director was like close to the gun or something.
Or maybe it hit him first.
It could ricochet. Bullets bounce off bones and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
true.
They do weird things.
Some weird shit, man. But I couldn't believe when I read that. I was like, what? I thought for a second it was clickbait.
Yeah.
I thought it was some kind of. I was gonna click on it and be like, bullshit.
I know, it's one of those things. Yeah. We're in a time where you don't know what's clickbait.
I know.
What's real.
I know.
You just gotta click to find out. You're like, God damn.
You're gonna find out. We're gonna do some clickbait on this channel eventually. At some point.
We're gonna do clickbait.
I'm gonna do a CGI where I
bam. We're gonna get a little graphic.
Yeah.
So
people go, oh my god, he killed him.
We'll have another camera that shows my body flipping over to the side. Just rolling out of the way.
We'll turn a fake argument into a real one.
Yeah. It starts out fake, it turns into real.
Every once in a while you just see a fist come over and smack. You're like, oh. We just roll right off it and like, oh jeez. Yeah. So what was I saying?
All right, So the demons, they came and visited me in my sleep.
yeah, that demon that I saw the other night.
That came out of me, I guess. Yeah. Maybe I'm possessed. I don't know if you thought about that. I've thought about that. I don't feel possessed.
I don't know. All I know is I was afraid to look at you. So yeah. Anyways,
it could be the ghost of the house.
What's that?
Could be the ghost of the house.
I don't know. You know what, man? My sister said something about that. She said something about like believing there was a ghost in the house or something. I don't know.
I've seen a couple weird things on Psychedelics.
We're gonna get into some ghost talk, I think. That's the natural progression into ghost talk.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about ghosts?
I think they're real.
Yeah. What do you think they are? How do you think it plays into reality? I think it's real. I think there's too much. When I say real, a lot of people might have like a very strict, Okay, I will say that I believe in God, but it's not defined. But
You're
some
agnostic.
people will say God is a man with a beard in the sky, and that's what God is. And you either believe in that or you're an atheist. So you go, no. There's a lot of in between, right? And so with ghosts, I think a lot of people have a very strict definition of like, okay, ghosts are dead people, or ghosts are like ripples in space time or whatever. And so they leave it at that. Like for me, it's like there's a phenomenon going on, and that's about it. I'm not sure what it is. I have ideas. It's weird. I've seen weird things.
Well, what's your idea? Let's hear it.
I don't know.
Now I'll tell you one of my ideas.
I mean, ghosts could be like ripples in space time, kind of like echoes of memories. Like for example, you have an old house where there was somebody that lived there for 50, 60 years, and they had a routine in that house, and maybe that routine carried on after they died, just because it's the energy, right, of doing that thing, and then you kind of every now and then you catch it. Your doors shutting or whatever. Maybe it's deliberate. Maybe it is actual dead people sort of engaging with our reality. I think there are some stories that might suggest that that's what's going on. It could be interdimensional. It could be like kind of higher dimensional phenomenon that is just kind of having like a rippling effect on us.
You're all over the place. What do you actually believe, man?
I don't have a belief.
I have a sort of scientific sort of belief, kind of not not a belief, but
he walks it back.
No, it's not a belief. I don't really believe in much
Right.
of anything. It's more like it's just.
I think it's foolish to grant.
I have a little hypothesis that I think kind of like is based in some scientific theory, if you will. Everything's made of atoms, right? Like we know, and I think that energy is constant. I think energy changes form, but I think it's constant. So I think the energy you see in this table and anything around us is just an inert energy. It's not.
It's constantly,
but
it's a store of energy,
right? But it's moving. It's moving
it.
in its wavelengths and such at such a
right, but like
at such an infinitesimally slow rate.
I think you could conceptualize like this table as a store of energy, and we could get that energy out by
you
burning
it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And then it converts again to different energy, right?
Right.
So I think all this energy, including humans,
right,
converts back to different forms of energy. Like right now, we're just in a different form, and then we will convert when we die. Our body converts into various different bits of energy, but our consciousness also, I believe, is an energy. It will just carry on, and that consciousness carries on, and it's around us. And I think at that point, because you're now no longer conforming to a body.
I do think consciousness permeates everything, and I think.
Well, that's what I mean. And if it does,
I'm becoming more and more of like a non-dualist. I think that ultimately at the top, now the top is the top. The top is whatever God is, and it's not necessarily 4 dimensions, 5 dimensions, 6 dimensions. It could be at
297 dimensions.
Yeah, I think at the top, it's all one thing. And the idea that you and I are separate is an illusion, and it's deliberate. It's on purpose, because it's no fun if you're just some entity, some being.
Who's having the fun?
The universe. God.
The universe is like a Loki.
You can call it God.
Yeah.
You can.
It's just a trickster.
Alan Watts. Very insightful man.
Who is it? Alan Watts?
Alan Watts, yeah. He kind of popularized Eastern philosophy, which is kind of what I'm saying is Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever, in the Western world, kind of in like the 50s, 60s. He's been dead a very long time.
I'm listening to you from over there. I'm going to go get us another drink.
All right. But Alan Watts, he says that... A couple of different phrases is that every one of us is an aperture through which the whole cosmos looks out, and he also describes it as we are each everything that there is, doing it this way, then again that way, then again another way.
Right.
And shout out to Akira the Don for putting those memes in my head. And he also describes it as okay, this is more where I wanted to go, but I couldn't think of it. If I can remember the words exactly, he says something along the lines of, what would you do if you had the power to dream any dream that you wanted to? And then he would say, at first you would maybe start out by fulfilling all of your wildest fantasies. You'd have beautiful women, parties, just whatever, your wildest fantasies. And then eventually you might...
You get bored?
You'd get bored of that. You might go into more of an adventurous kind of realm where you'd go and fight dragons and, conquer challenges, right? Get into battle with enemies.
Dragons.
Right. Just
dragons.
You would create... you would create some kind of obstacle, some kind of problem to solve, right? Something to deal with. And then eventually, that would, after some time in doing this, you would get bored and you would think up a new wrinkle. And
so this is basing it on the human experience. This isn't basing it on like just life in general.
This is trying to...
Okay, make your point.
You get to, eventually you would think up a new wrinkle so that, you would forget that it was a dream. You would forget that you were dreaming, so that you would think it was real,
right?
Because it would be so great when you woke up, right? You would, you take it very seriously, and then he said, eventually after some time, you would find yourself sitting in this room, talking with me, with your own personal situation, the jacket you're wearing, the problems you have in your life, all that jazz, right? And he closes sort of the speech off with, because after all, what would you do if you were God? And it's kind of this interesting thought experiment where it's like, oh yeah, that is probably what would happen if I had that ability, right? If I had that ability to, every night of sleep, to live out 70 years of subjective time, it would probably start out that way. It would probably be like, well, let's do the most fun, crazy things, and then it's like, I've lived the life of a billionaire for a year. All right, let's do something different. Let's be a knight fighting a dragon or leading an army or something, and then it's like, yeah, you know what? There's something about knowing that I'm gonna wake up. You'd forget, and you'd want to think that it was real because it would be a whole nother level of immersion into your thing, right? It's like putting on a VR headset,
sure,
like that Rick and Morty episode. What is it?
We're talking about Rick and Morty now.
Yeah. Oh man, what's it called? Where Morty puts on the headset and he Roy.
Here's a shout out to Rick and Morty, by the way. Hilarious show on what network's that one on?
Adult Swim.
Adult Swim?
Adult Swim, yeah.
What? That's a network?
Yes.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I've seen it on the
yes,
Amazon
or
or
on the
box.
internet.
On the box.
But there's a whole level of engagement if you can forget what's going on, and really perceive the situation from the perspective of the characters that you created, and you kind of builds out from there. And you're like, that's just an interesting thought experiment because I would do that.
It is,
and
but
maybe you are doing that.
It is, but it's also it's very limited on the human experience, because who's to say that an ant, given the same opportunities, would think of any of that? You know what I mean? Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like, so is it limited to just the human psyche and the human mind?
No.
Or is it limited? Or is it like life in general?
Everything.
All life would do that.
Everything. Well, no, it's not. Like an ant probably couldn't conceive of that, but the idea is, well, yeah, that's true.
That's what I mean. We don't know what the consciousness of an ant is.
It's probably very limited, even the size. But the idea is the experience of an ant is that's a part of it. That's a part of the whole thing. It's not separate. It's all life whatsoever, I think that's a way to conceptualize it is eventually life starts. It starts on purpose, maybe a set of parameters kicked off in the imagination of, this. It feels, God is the only word. Like God
feels like a creator.
It feels
like
so
intelligent creation.
Well, God feels so tainted with culture.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to call it an entity. You don't want to call it a being, because it would be probably many orders. Like, we are beings and entities. Maybe you consider like the machine elves to be entities, and they're higher. Maybe they're higher dimensional or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Semantics at this point, what you name it.
But it would be orders of magnitude more complex. You know what I mean? Think about the difference between that couch and us, and that's all within three-dimensional reality. Now think of the difference between us and a four-dimensional being. It would be like an order of magnitude more complex, because you have a whole other dimension to play with. So think of the thing at the top. It's so complex. Like, God is really the only word, I think, to describe it. Even though it's tainted, I think it's really the only thing that's ambiguous and big enough to
I agree,
to grab it. And I think the universe gets kicked off as by God. It is God, and the whole life starting out probably starts everywhere. It's probably a feature of the universe is to facilitate life, and it's all God experiencing itself.
Maybe it's always been there. Maybe the universe has always been there.
Going. Yeah, it could have been.
Maybe the Big Bang. You know how they say, okay, so the Big Bang happened and then everything's expanding, but then they say at some point it's going to begin to contract again.
Yeah. What if it's like a
heartbeat? Maybe that's what happens. It's like a heartbeat. It goes back, contracts, and re-expands again. And contracts, re-expands. And
or maybe time started spontaneously, 1 billion years ago. And all that's before was just kind of set up. You can't really know.
I know.
What if it started yesterday? It could have started yesterday. You can't.
The fun thing about it is try and take our little monkey mind.
Yeah. The monkey can't comprehend
and wrap our head around everything, right?
Yeah.
But to bring it back to my original point about energy and spirits, we'll right into a circle. We'll come right back. I think then if you can agree that everything's energy, which we can, scientifically we can prove that everything's made up of atoms, same atoms, just different composition and different states of energy, essentially, then what's to say that we can't just go back to energy and just at any form? Like, maybe once we're out of this form, when we're stuck in, that we're limited to all the different things we're limited to.
We're not stuck.
No, but we are. Yes, we are. We're limited. I can't just fly up and.
You can kill yourself.
What I'm saying though is, we're limited in this form.
Right.
So you can get out of this form if you kill yourself.
You're anxious about it because this is all you know. No, you don't have.
No. Listen, it's not that. But what I'm saying though is, like, you're limited in this form because you allow yourself to be limited in this form.
The monkey is restricted. The monkey is a three-dimensional being.
You
are not trapped in the monkey, though.
No, but I'm saying accept it as it is, that you are allowing yourself to be trapped.
I think the whole point is to experience what it is to be a human being, a monkey.
The monkey.
A kind of monkey.
The smart monkey. Not even. I don't even know. But hey, so when I was watching Rogan, the one podcast he was talking about, and I went and checked this up because I always do. He was talking about how there's studies showing that monkeys are now in the Stone Ages, essentially. They're in the early stage of the Stone Ages where they're starting to use tools.
Yeah, that's what they're saying
regularly.
They also think, though, that maybe that's kind of something we've taught them to do, and they've kind of gone with it.
But who knows if we weren't taught?
We could have easily been taught
by extraterrestrials or something. Or maybe there was a different species on this planet at one point, and then we ended up killing them off.
Yeah, that's
you never know, man. There's anything
possible.
you can dream up, you can imagine, as long as you formulate it with certain what's the word? Certain bases and things. As long as you formulate with that, as long as you're not grabbing pie in the sky, it's plausible, or barely possible at the very least, right? So you can say these things are. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe it's not likely, but there's a chance.
Are you familiar with the stoned ape theory?
The stoned ape?
Yeah.
That they were getting stoned?
Kind of. I really got to pee.
So I'm going to talk to myself. Why don't we just stop this one and restart another one? We'll get into this next one, because if I just sit here and talk to myself, I'm gonna look like a crazy monkey.
Well, you are a crazy monkey. All right, we will end this